Thank you so much for joining us here today at FF News coverage of ITC. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm really happy to be here. This has been a pretty incredible event so far.
I feel you look like you've lived it today.
We're living it. It's been back-to-back meetings, wall-to-wall, but that's the whole point. It feels like the whole industry is here. And so we're trying to take advantage of it as much as we can.
Amazing. And now for our viewers who might not be aware, could you take us through your full name, your job role, and your organization, please?
Sure. My name's Cameron Nordholm. I'm head of product at AgentSync.
Amazing. And Cameron, could you really tell us, we're here in ITC, but obviously after the past 2 years, events have been on the slower side. What were you looking forward to the most from this event?
Yeah, I think, again, really having the whole industry here and having that sort of check on the pulse, if you will, of the whole technology component of the U.S. insurance industry. I can't express how exciting it is to, again, have these events back in person, but also just to see from even a few years ago, the amount of innovation and growth that's been occurring in this space is really remarkable. And you can see it because we've watched, particularly with ITC, as it's evolved from a lot of startups, a lot of smaller companies, into a lot more mature businesses that we're really having a great time sort of exploring and talking about partnerships and collaboration.
Amazing. I think you've summed it up perfectly. I mean, there's no better place to do all of that in one place. Now, one thing I've been hearing on the shop floor has been how customer expectations in insurance are going through a wealth of changes. So how do you think the industry is faring with all those changes to customer experience?
No, it's mixed, right? So our focus at AgentSync is all about agents and producers, right? So for us, it's much more about how do we take who are the most skilled insurance sales and consultant professionals in the industry, and how do we help our customers create better experiences for them? The biggest change that we're seeing right now is a generational transformation where we're seeing the average producer of an agent is somewhere around 60 or even north of that. And as we're seeing a younger generation of producer of agents coming into the workforce, they're bringing with them all of the expectations of using Robinhood and using Snapchat and using these sort of consumer-first tools in business. And so we look at the industry overall as having delivered a lot of innovation around the insured experience. We think there's a lot of room for growth in the agent and producer-facing space to up-level that experience. I think it hasn't been as loved or been paid attention to quite as much as it could be.
Well, I think it's a fascinating paradigm to be in, because if the entire demographic that uses insurance is just going to fall off a cliff, how do you scramble to get new people when compliance to change, innovation while matching regulatory engagements is so difficult? So what are the key challenges with remaining compliant but evolving at the same time?
So for a younger generation, it's going to be about making it easy.
Okay.
It's going to be about making it really simple.
Yeah.
And so for them, to make sure that we remain compliant, it's all about making it sort of self-serve. You look back at the classic iTunes store, you had things that were being pirated. If you make a really elegant solution that brings into one place what they need, you're going to get much better outcomes. And in this case, much better compliance across the board. So to go to the point of how do we up-level, how do we create better experiences for that younger demographic that the industry really needs to pull them into the industry rather. Our focus on delivering that compliance process and that onboarding experience so that they feel like it's not a chore to simply go from sort of zero to be ready to sell as a producer or as an agent. That's how we're going to get the better outcome, not by browbeating them, not by putting up barriers, but by making a better experience.
Now that's absolutely amazing, and as a consumer, I love to hear it. But I'm intrigued to find out, especially with your role and the product side of things, is how is AgentSync's products going to solve those wealth of changes and issues that we've just discussed?
Yeah. So if you look at compliance in the U.S. insurance market, what that really comes down to is how do we sort of take a very complex picture and render it simple. I like to say that insurance complex is easy, simple is hard, right? So only by doing the legwork of looking across all 54 different US insurance jurisdictions, of having all the data integrations for errors and omissions policies, for banking information, for all the different components that are required to go from zero to ready to sell, can we actually deliver on the promise of a better producer experience? Without those sort of underlying components, we're left where we were 10, 20, 50 years ago, which is a bunch of manual work and writing ledgers and spreadsheets. Exactly. So only by bringing that data picture into tight focus, into full resolution, does it offer us the ability to up-level that experience across the board.
We've been talking about how the industry has been changing over the last couple of years, what it's realizing. But what's next for AgentSync?
Well, for AgentSync, a lot's coming, is what I'll say. I'd say that overall, what we're focused on is really doubling down on what we've been so successful with over the last four years or so, which is how do we bring the complete compliance data picture together for our customers? And how do we accelerate their business processes so that they can help their producers, their agencies that they partner with, get onboarded and ready to sell as quickly as possible? That's the bottom line for us. Now, there's a lot more that we can do to take that vision and expand how we work with other partners, right? So today we focus on carriers, MGAs, and agencies. How do we integrate with the policy admin systems of the world? How do we work with agency management systems? How do we support commissions payments? And how do we bring all of those systems into sort of a tight data picture so that our customers aren't chasing different data bits in different silos, and they can accelerate their business across all of those different facets.
Amazing. Now, Cameron, you've told me about partnering with the agencies and the customers, but let's look at it on the other side. If you're going to play that fulcrum part, you've got to look at working with the regulators, right?
Mm-hmm.
How's that changed over the last couple of years?
Yeah, so the regulators have been doing a lot of work to modernize and catch up, and I'd say overall, we're seeing a lot more interest in innovative opportunities to partner with the insurance technology companies like us to deliver that full data picture for their participants, right? There are 54 jurisdictions in the US, right? So it's not a trivial matter.
No.
We already covered that ground with licensing and appointing data and things like that. But I think there's a lot of opportunities around continuing education, around other elements of the regulator sort of data picture. And we're seeing interest in how we can bring that into tighter focus.
Absolutely brilliant. Now, we're at probably the largest industry event in insurance post-COVID. What observations have you taken from those 2 or so years and put here now?
Yeah. So I think an emphasis on experience has really evolved. So as we've seen the work from home, working remotely, not having the same sort of office touch points that our users and our customers had come to rely on for the whole history of their business. So remote enablement, experiential differentiation has also become a big element. So how do I not just have a sort of digital transformation process that takes an existing process and brings it online, but how do I differentiate against my competitors? So we've seen a lot of interest there. The other accelerating trend that I see across the industry is an emphasis on APIs, right? And so I know that's sort of been a catch-all for a number of years now, but a true emphasis on how companies deliver their entire core value proposition via API is, I see, really coming in as not just a trend, but becoming a reality. And that reality is opening up a lot of opportunities for us and other companies to really pull together all best-in-breed solutions for carriers and MGAs and agencies. And we're really excited to be a part of that.
Amazing. Now, one trend I'm certainly seeing currently at ITC is a lot of people are moving towards the bars, so we won't keep you for too long, but what trends in the industry have you noticed at ITC?
Yeah, so beyond APIs and beyond sort of producer experience and customer experience overall, I think there is a shift towards sort of disaggregation or sort of an unbundling, if you will. So we're seeing, what has in the past been companies that have built in sort of what I call like a vertical integration model where they're adding a lot of value added, but not necessarily best in breed products. I'm seeing a little bit of a pullback towards how do companies focus on delivering one core service or one or two core services exceptionally well. Exactly. Specialization as we were moving into more of an API first world and building businesses based on that philosophy and that mission, that is a trend that I'm seeing, and I think it's going to pay dividends for the industry.
I'm going to leave you with one last question here at ITC. What do you think will be the next catalyst for the next round of innovation in insurance?
Yeah, I'd actually call back to something that we talk a lot about at AgentSync, which is this generational shift, right? So as the current generation of producers ages out of the market, we're gonna see a trend towards fewer number of producers with larger books of business and a demand for deeper wallet share across those producers. So for the industry overall, what we're gonna see are a smaller number of higher value agents and producers with the same number of participants chasing after them. As a catalyst for change, how are you going to reach that person, deliver value, and differentiate yourself? I think that's going to be a huge catalyst.